Have you ever noticed how some places just feel different? Like your favorite coffee shop feels like your coffee shop. Or why you get that little surge of pride when your local team wins, almost like you were out there on the field yourself. Some brands, some groups, they just feel like they're a part of us. Today, we're going to break down the psychology of why that is. So let's get into it. It all kind of starts with this really powerful idea, captured perfectly right here. Are we just buying the thing, the physical product we can hold in our hands? Or are we buying something way bigger, a story, an identity, a dream? So that's the big question we're tackling today. We're going to dive into the science behind that feeling of connection, that sense of belonging that makes us feel like we're more than just a customer. We're going to explore the huge difference between just owning something and truly feeling like it's a part of you. Okay, so that powerful feeling, right? That sense that something is just yours. Well, it's not just some fuzzy, vague emotion. Science actually has a name for it. And, understanding this is really the first key to unlocking this whole mystery. It's called psychological ownership. And here's the absolute kicker. It's the feeling that something is yours, even when you have zero legal claim to it. I mean, think about it for a second. You don't legally own that corner booth at your favorite diner, but it is your booth, isn't it? You don't own the players on your city sports team, but it's your team. This feeling is everywhere, and man, is it powerful. So how in the world does this feeling even happen? Well, research points to three main pathways to get there. First, you got to be able to control it, or at least feel like you can. The more you can personalize something, the more it feels like it's yours. Second, you have to know it inside and out. Its story, its quirks, all the little details. And third, you have to invest yourself in it. We're talking about your time, your energy, your passion. That investment literally makes it part of your own story. And check this out, because this slide just lays it out so clearly. On the left, you've got legal ownership. Cold, hard facts, paperwork, a deed, a registration. But then look at the right. That's psychological ownership. It's based entirely on emotion and experience. So let me ask you, which one of those often feels more real, more important to who you are? All right, so to see these psychological forces in their most concentrated form, we need to find a place where that feeling of belonging is the main product, a perfect laboratory, if you will. And you know where researchers found it? In the world of private clubs. Yup, in a really detailed 2020 dissertation, a researcher named Frederick Meitner did this deep dive into the private club industry. And why there? Because these places are literally built from the ground up to create these intense feelings of ownership and belonging among the members. They are specifically designed for it. And listen, this isn't some tiny little niche we're talking about. Look at these numbers. We're talking about roughly 6,000 clubs in the US alone, about 2 million members, and they generate over 21 times billion dollars in economic activity. This is a huge part of our social and economic landscape, which makes it a really powerful place to study these fundamental human behaviors. So what happens if you can actually pull this off? If you can create that deep feeling of psychological ownership? Well, you get the one thing that every organization on the planet is after: true, unshakable loyalty. Let's take a look at how that journey actually unfolds. What the research shows is pretty fascinating. Loyalty isn't just an on or off switch. No, it's a journey, a whole progression. It starts out with something called cognitive loyalty. This is pretty weak, actually. It's all based on logic, like maybe you choose something because it's convenient. But then, with good experiences, you level up to affective loyalty. Now you're starting to actually like it. You've got good feelings. From there, you can hit conative loyalty, which is about forming a real intention to stick with it. You're committed now. And finally, you reach the holy grail, action loyalty. This is where it all becomes automatic. You don't even think about the other guys anymore. You just belong. It's like a ladder, isn't it? One that brands and groups are constantly trying to get us to climb. It's a much more complex and deliberate process than most of us probably realize. But wait, there's another layer to this whole thing, one that's even more powerful. Because the feeling of mine is one thing. But what happens when that feeling gets amplified by a whole group? What happens when me becomes we? This is the huge jump from individual to collective psychological ownership. And the research makes this amazing point. You can't have the ours until you first have the mine. Each person in that group has to first build that personal feeling of ownership. But when they look around and see that others share that exact same intense feeling, it transforms into something way bigger. My club becomes our club. And this is where group identity kicks into high gear. It basically draws a line in the sand. It tells us who's in our in group, the people like us, and who's in the out group. And this process is so powerful that it literally starts to blend our own personal identity with the group's identity. Suddenly, the group's wins feel like our wins. Their values become our values. That feeling of ours becomes a fundamental part of who we believe we are. So, after all this, what's the ultimate takeaway? Well, it's something that connects all of this deep psychology to the world all around us, and probably in some ways you might not expect. Okay, take a look at this quote for a second. It's from a research journal about architecture and hotel design. I know, it seems totally random, right? What on earth could hotel layouts possibly have to do with any of this? Well, as it turns out, absolutely everything. And this right here is the final point that brings it all home. The principles we've been talking about, control, knowledge, investment, group identity, they're all tools. Just like an architect uses light and space and materials to design a building that makes you feel good, leaders and brands can use these psychological principles to architect a community that creates a deep, powerful sense of belonging. It's not an accident, it's design. All right, so let's boil all this down. What should you take away from this? First, we don't just buy stuff. We buy into a dream of who we want to be. Second, that powerful feeling of ownership isn't magic. It's built on purpose through those three paths: control, knowledge, and investment. Third, remember that real loyalty isn't a single choice. It's a four-stage journey. And finally, and maybe most importantly, while the feeling of mine is strong, it's that collective feeling of ours that is truly transformative. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Just take a second to look at your own life. Your favorite band, your neighborhood, maybe that one project at work you just poured your heart into. What feels truly yours, in a way that no contract or piece of paper could ever possibly capture? The answer, well, it probably tells you a lot about who you are.